I've long wanted a fish pond with a window inside to view the fish, but for someone like myself who isn't particularly DIY minded, it can be a minefield of where to start. But there is a complete and set up version made by Blagdon, so I wanted to test it out and put one up to see if it's worth the money and how it performs. If you watched my previous pond video with a Blagdon pond, I set up the smaller no-dig nature pool, and just like that, it's important to pick the right spot. My own back garden just doesn't have the space for this, so the pond is being set up in my mum's garden. With the setup having a flat back, I knew I wanted it up against a fence and on a flat surface with no objects to puncture the liner, so decking was ideal for this. At its longest, the back is 145 centimeters long, so make sure wherever you put it, it's big enough for that. The pond, when fully filled up, is 480 litres or 108 gallons, so a decent amount of water in there. I got everything out on the decking and laid it together checking the instructions. Now, full disclosure, I'm dyslexic as fuck, and written instructions are not my strong point. This will become apparent later in the video. You start with the top frame and you build this upside down. I also put out the protective mat at this point to lay things on. Each bit of the frame slots into a corner bracket fairly easily. Once they're in place, it's the side panels you slot into the corners. Again, this was fairly straightforward. There are little stickers at the end. You don't put this near the bracket, you make sure it's the other way around, so do check out for those stickers. You'll have a boatload of little plastic screws, plugs and bits and bobs. Make sure you keep these together. It's now time to place the windows in the slots. They can be quite tough to go in, so I would suggest placing warm water to help them go on, but I did eventually manage to get them on there. So up until this point, I'd found everything fairly easy and simple, but I have to admit, I had a hell of a time getting the twist supports on, and I probably read it wrong, but I really struggled. And I did later find out what you're supposed to do is place all the supports on, but don't twist until they're all on it, which I didn't do. So here's a valuable tip. Don't twist them. The brace brackets were no issue at all, and they also help support the pond. They just screw on nicely. So I thought I was doing quite well at this point, but when I went to put the liner in, I suddenly realised I'd made a bloody big error. I'd put the window slots in upside down. If you look back at the shot of me putting in the slots, you'll see a sticker. This sticker should be the end that goes in first. This is my fault not reading the instructions right, but I would say maybe a clear arrow or something to really make this obvious might be a good idea. Or put the window in the middle, then it doesn't matter which way it goes in. But I'm sure there's a reason for this design. Anyway, I was quite pissed off I'd done this, and I had to take the thing apart to get the slots out, as they go in real tight, and you need to relax the tension to remove the slots. I decided to have a break and come back the following day. I placed it in my mum's garage to help warm it up a little, because this will be easier to remove, and also added cooking oil as a lubricant to slide off the panels, which actually worked really well, although it does make your hands a bit slippery. I then correctly placed them in the right way round. I then added the plastic feet, which go on each corner. You have some tension ropes that go round these feet to help keep it taut. I then flip the pond the correct way, and it's time to get the window liner in. Firstly, to my relief, I checked the windows matched up, which they did. It has metal holes that hook onto the corners, and it's not as easy to do as the smaller no-dig nature pool, but with a bit of back and forth, it will go in. You get a couple of planter pockets, which I've installed now, and you can put some stones, mud, and marginal plants in here. The windows have a protective film on them. You'll want to carefully remove this before filling the pond up. Another point I'll make is this is the best time to place the pump in that you get with the pond. It's easier to hide the wiring now, but I didn't have it connected to the mains at this point, and I just wanted to skip this step, so I got the pond filled up. I put the hose pipe in and I left it to fill, probably took around 30 minutes or so, and I chucked in a lily pad and some other aquatic plants. The water started to fill up and the window took shape. Now, electrics are really not my strong point, so I got a neighbour to do this, but we got the pump fitted and placed into the pond, an oxygenator was added also, and an outdoor switch box so I can turn off individual appliances and add more at a later date if I wanted to, say like outdoor lighting. The last finishing touch was adding some fish. Again, if it was my pond, I would just have natives, but my mum wanted goldfish, so that's what I added. Though I did sneak in a roach and a bream in there, I doubt she'll notice. I think this pond would be a bit snug for koi, but it would be good for raising smaller koi before moving to a bigger pond, maybe even a stickleback pond, or even fill it with minnows and bleak. There's lots of possibilities. Now the water started off a little bit green because obviously I'd left it without a pump for a few days, but once the pump got going, the water cleared up very quickly. Would I recommend this pond? I've got to be honest, I didn't find it easy to set up on my own, although most of them were my own mistakes, I will admit that. If you can get help, it'll make it go much faster, and you'll probably avoid some of the very silly mistakes that I made. If you wanted a window pond for your fish though, it's a complete setup that's ready to go. There's no digging involved, it can be easily emptied, and it can be moved. And ultimately, I was really happy with the look and the results of this pond. You can buy these ponds in many garden centres, or you can even order them online. Have you bought one of these ponds? How did you get on with it? Let me know in the comments. I'll see you in the next vid. Cheers. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this vid, why not check out this other video right here? If you can, please subscribe to the channel, only takes a couple of seconds and it really helps me out. I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.